All right, welcome back in. We got a lot to get to, y'all, and this will carry over into the headlines of the day. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock. Jay and Elijah with you. We do now have all of the details for Paul Mainieri and his staff as the baseball coach. We also know that Ashley Chastain has been hired as softball coach. She played at South Carolina, and we know that Rob Bradley will be the new men's golf coach coming down after a pretty successful run in the Big Ten at Purdue University. But let's go to the baseball here before we do anything else. Coach Paul Mainieri is coming in. Let's see here. He is going to, I'm trying to figure out here, what's his number, Elijah? I'm trying to get all this in. He's going to be making over $1 million, right?
He is, yeah. Wes, our boy Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central, says 5-year deal, $1.3 million for Paul Mainieri.
Terry Rooney will be pitching coach and recruiting coordinator coming over from LSU. He will make $425 per year. Monty Lee gets a massive raise. Well done, Monty. A 3-year deal for Monty, $550 per year. The third assistant is John Hendry. That's Hendry. John, for the last 3 seasons, has been Brian O'Connor's director of player development at Virginia.
Hey, that's a good unexpected surprise there.
And see, that's another thing. Like, how long
good upgrade
was this in the works? And, oh, by the way, Virginia's going back to the College World Series.
They develop players really well at Virginia.
Well, Brian O'Connor, listen, John Hendry's young, but he's been there for a while. If Brian O'Connor taps you to be a part of the staff and you continue to go to the College World Series, which is now the expectation up there on a pretty regular basis, then you're doing something right. So this is a really nice get. This is a solid staff. But you've got now in Monty Lee and Terry Rooney, you've got 2 guys who do have a solid reputation as recruiters. In John Hendry, again, there's the player development portion of things at a very high level, literal national championship caliber program. And again, is back in Omaha this season. And Virginia did it the hard way. Virginia had to go on the road. Mm-hmm. They won the Arkansas regional and then came back and took care of business at home. So here you go. And, that's a lot of money. Paul Mainieri, $1.3 per year. Terry Rooney, $425. Monty Lee, $550. I don't have what Hendry will make, but I'm going to...
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet specifically.
I figure he probably, though, makes in the 2s, 3s maybe, especially if you're going to be plucked away from that kind of gig.
Yeah, we talked about the financial investment on the staff and what's going to take to be able to compete. This is a staff that is going to be able to compete, and they're spending a lot on it. Everything that you, for a Gamecock fan, you wanted to see, they're doing. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah. I think Mark Kingston, that's nearly doubling what Mark Kingston was making. I think Mark last season made $725. So there's the first big commitment. Now you have proven to the college baseball world that you are very serious about your staff. You're very serious about making sure that they are happy, comfortable, compensated. And now what's the level of spending look like relative to securing more talent, both through a recruiting budget and an NIL budget? And I don't have too many big questions about Carolina's ability to do that. But like we said last week, what everybody wanted, Ray Tanner, go out and get a guy that was a lot like you and then give that guy the kind of support that you were given at the height of your powers to make this program the most successful in the country. And will it return to a 3-year run of playing for a national title? That's a lot to ask. Right now, let's see this program get back to Omaha. And as any of you that follow the sport on a regular basis know, that's hard. It's hard. It's not making an excuse. It's reality. It's hard to do. But that's the next big step. It's been a long time. It's been 12 seasons. been a long time since you've hit the promised land of Omaha, Nebraska. And remember, every time Ray Tanner took a team out there, they'd ever win over. So there's also, once you get back to Omaha, there's an expectation of at least a little bit of advancement.
That you're booking your hotel for a few nights.
Yeah. I mean, again, 2002, they played for the national title. 2003, they didn't do as well. I think they only won once, actually. 2004, you technically finished third. You were the two teams advanced. And then again, 10, 11, 12, we know what happened. So the commitment to the staff is absolutely there. Anybody that was worried about it, it's there.
We have our answer.
Yeah. We'll get into this in more detail for you, the other coaches that are coming around, and a lot more to get to in the headlines of the day, and revisit a lot of our conversations about what Carolina's getting in Paul Mainieri as the final hour of the postgame show comes your way. And you got one more chance to win tickets to see Gwar.
Gwar Experience.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Tuesday. Welcome back in. Final hour of the postgame show as well. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips, and we do have breaking news that has just come down from the just concluded USC Board of Trustees meeting. We'll start with South Carolina baseball. Coach Paul Mainieri has been given a 5-year deal. He'll make $1.3 million per season. His contract officially runs through May 31st of 2029. He is bringing Terry Rooney with him. I say with him from LSU. Terry Rooney was a pitching coach with Coach Mainieri at both Notre Dame and LSU. Had a long run as head coach at Central Florida. Has coached in the Big Ten at Purdue, and most recently was an off-field recruiting coordinator for Jay Johnson at LSU, helping them secure talent that won last year's College World Series. This year, of course, LSU bowing out in the regionals up in Chapel Hill in a good game after losing to Tennessee for the SEC Tournament Championship. Coach Rooney has a 3-year deal. He will make $425,000 per year. Monty Lee has been retained by Paul Mainieri and gets a very significant raise, nearly doubling his pay. He too has a 3-year deal. He will make $550,000 per season. The final member of the staff will be John Hendry, Hendry. John, for the last 4 seasons actually, has been the player development coach and also a big-time recruiter for Brian O'Connor at the University of Virginia. I imagine that Coach Hendry will remain in his capacity through the Cavaliers' run at this year's College World Series. So here's a guy coming from a current College World Series team. The head coach has won the College World Series and played for it on a couple of occasions. Terry Rooney's been with him for some of those runs. We know what Monty Lee is about around here. Significant increase in compensation for this assistant coaching staff relative to what we have seen the last couple of years. Will there be the same type of effort, if you will, and support for both the recruiting budget and the NIL budget? Every reason to believe there will. You're not going to do one without the other. What does it get you, right? Mm-hmm. So I will be perfectly honest. I'm very impressed with what I see here. I think there were a lot of people, myself included. I don't want to say I had concerns like, oh, there's no way, but there was a lot of, hey, what can Carolina do? And look at where Carolina's been. And, if you look at where they finished in the conference, it was sort of about where they were maybe spending in the conference. And that had a lot of fans around here concerned. We talked a lot about it last week. What this fan base wants, whether it's a name or not, is one thing. They want to see somebody like Ray Tanner's resume, and they want to see the athletics director that is Ray Tanner give that guy the support Ray Tanner got 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So far, it looks like that's what's coming around. Now, only time tells. Now, one of my favorite things to get to go say is go get some more good players.
And, the Garnet Trust 13 minutes ago tweeted out the link to give to Baseball Diamond Fund, and your contribution will go directly to Baseball NIL. So they wasted no time to be able to get that message out there to help these guys get more good players. And I think they're going to be able to do that. If you're a fan, and this isn't just, solely pertaining to South Carolina athletics, you're a fan of any team, You want to see the people making the decisions are trying their best. They're putting their chips to the table and going all in. You want to see them go all in. And it feels like an all-in type of move that you're able to retain an assistant coach who helps you get a lot of the good players you have on your roster now. You're bringing in other coaches who have a track record of bringing in really good players at really good baseball schools or have developed really good players at really good baseball schools. Oh, yeah, and you're headlined by one of the best coaches in the history of the game who has a national championship, has been to countless College World Series, and is a proven track record of being able to take care of business in a tournament setting and be a good on-field coach and manager of the game. I don't know what else you could really ask for.
I don't disagree at all, man. Again, this is the first big giant step, but it needed to happen. Monty Lee, by the way, will retain the title of associate head coach. He will now be the sole hitting coach. I know those roles last year were kind of split between a couple of guys. Monty, again, will become the hitting coach on his own. Terry Rooney will hold the title of pitching coach / recruiting coordinator. And as for now, John Hendry will simply be assistant coach. But again, under Coach O'Connor up in Charlottesville, he is director of player development. For what it's worth, John Hendry was a college pitcher at the University of Indianapolis about 10 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark, no pun intended.
Nice.
So he comes down, again, from a championship caliber staff and a guy like Brian O'Connor who all he does is win. So.
O'Connor wins a lot.
They do. So there you go. There's your Gamecock pitching staff. Again, Paul Mainieri, a 5-year deal at 1.3 per season. And I'm sure we'll get into a few. I haven't seen it yet. I honestly haven't had a whole lot of time to look, but I imagine more of this will be published. I'm certain that for all these guys, there will be the bonuses and those things built in for advancement in the SEC and at the national level.
And with John Hendry, too, a nice fun John Hendry fact, per the university. He is the son of John Hendry, who is a longtime MLB executive and current special assistant to Brian Cashman for the New York Yankees.
Oh, okay. That's
so
cool.
There are some deep baseball roots there for Mr. Hendry.
He's a baseball lifer.
He's a lifer. Yeah. He's very well connected.
That could help.
Yeah, I think having those type of connections
is going
to help you a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure father and son will have a lot of discussions about personnel with each other, in terms of draft picks. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised if in the next 3 years we see a couple Gamecocks become Yankees.
In addition to the baseball hires, the board today did approve the new contract for softball coach Ashley Chastain. She has a 5-year deal at $300,000 per year. Her contract officially runs through June 30th, 2029. She takes over for Bev Smith, who she played for a little bit back in the day. In fact, I saw this in her release. Ashley Chastain becomes the first South Carolina alumna to, or any alum for that matter, but in this case, alumna, female, to take over a program since Boo Major became the equestrian coach in 1998. So it's been a while since South Carolina has had one of their own as a head coach.
How about
on
that?
Campus. All right, so there's that. And finally, Rob Bradley is the new men's golf coach taking over for Bill McDonald. Bradley spent the last 11 years as head coach at Purdue, where he has taken the Boilermakers to the national tournament most of the years that he was up there. He receives a 5-year contract at $240,000 per year. His deal runs through May 31st of 2029. So, but the big news again, Paul Mainieri, 1.3 per. Monty Lee, $550. Associate head coach, hitting coach Terry Rooney, $450. Recruiting coordinator, pitching coach John Hendry as director of player development at Virginia. I imagine comes in a very, very similar capacity. Yes?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say that's a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah. We'll have more on this for you coming up in just a little bit and what it means. And we certainly want to hear from you guys. So go ahead, line up some texts, or if you want to get in on the phones, 803-404-6100. What do you think of this in terms of, again, still just getting thoughts on Coach Mainieri overall, but on this staff? And
Specifics.
And the financial support this staff is being given on their own. And do you believe, like we said, that will equate to what this staff will be given to accumulate and retain talent on the roster.
There's a whole lot of excitement about the staff, and there's excitement and input from one person who is very important.
All right, good
Ethan
stuff.
Petrie has weighed in.
Oh, good. All right, well, we'll have that coming up for you in just a few. In the meantime, let's get to a couple other things. The Gamecock football schedule is now known almost fully. We knew a few times already, like the first couple of ball games. Old Dominion at 4:15 here in Columbia, 3:30 kickoff in Lexington, Kentucky, and noon against LSU. Today we found out a couple of more specific times and then at least a couple of time frames. The Gamecocks hosting Akron will be a night game, so somewhere between 7 and 8 kickoff. That's
Love
what
it.
they're telling us night means. The Ole Miss game is a flex game, so we do not yet know. That's one of the two. That's the only home game that's a flex. The Clemson game is not yet known either, but that's at Death Valley this year. So Elijah and I speculating that if Carolina is 3-1 or better when Mississippi comes to town first weekend of October, that's a likely night game. Could even potentially be the 3:30. I don't know.
Could be game of the week.
Could be. I don't know.
Because if they're 3-1, Ole Miss is undefeated, which I
never know.
kind of expect.
Yeah, but I that one feels to me like a good old fashioned 7:45 ESPNer.
I want that to be a night game so bad.
But
So bad.
But we shall see. But that one is a flex game.
Hope they consult me.
At Alabama will be noon Eastern, so 11 o'clock Central Time on October 12. The following weekend will also be the early time slot. Again, that could be anywhere between 12 and 1 Eastern kickoff in Norman, so it'll be early in Norman. Homecoming is with A&M here in Columbia. That will be a night game. So, again, somewhere between 7 and 8. Vanderbilt in Nashville will be an afternoon game. That is the time frame between like 3:30 and 4:30 Eastern, so a little bit earlier Central Time. Missouri comes here this year. That will also be an afternoon game. And Wofford is specifically at 4 o'clock, the final home game. And once again, Clemson at Death Valley, November 30, to be announced. We will find that out later on. That's an ACC television game. Still ESPN, still Disney, but that's an ACC thing. So, again, that day also, and I don't know where they are. I'd never remember. FSU, Florida, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Louisville. You got those other built-in, games with the
It's
ACC
rivalry
rivals.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we, and if both teams are doing well, probably be pretty well showcased.
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be my hunch.
Yeah, even then.
So
Even if they don't.
pull for it.
Big rivalry game.
It is a big rivalry game.
Really excited about A&M being a night game. I have a few friends from Tennessee that I've convinced to come out here for a football game, and that was the game they picked. And it's going to be a night game, so their first experience will be under the lights.
Last time A&M came here, they did their yell practice on the State House steps. I didn't go, but I had some friends that did, and
I bet it was totally normal, non-awkward.
They did say it was everything that you think it is. And
in terms of being weird and culty.
And I didn't. To which I said, "Why'd you go?" They just said we just wanted to see it for ourselves. And I was like,
Curiosity.
all right. Have fun with that. U.S. Open tee times have been announced today as we continue our integrated media headlines of the day. I'm not going to give you – I'd love to sit here and give you every single tee time, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm just going to give you about the 5 or 6 of the best groups that are going to be playing with each other. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka is one of them. Ricky Fowler, Adam Hadwin, and Phil Mickelson will be playing in the same threesome. Let's see, a couple other good ones. Rory, Xander Schauffele, and Scotty Scheffler. Wow. They're going to tee off at 1:15 on number 1 on Thursday.
Perfect.
Let's see. Also going off of number 1, Hideki, John Rahm, Jordan Spieth. So I'll just see Matsuyama win a U.S. Open. John Rahm's got a hurt foot, so he could be a little gimpy. We shall see. A couple other good ones here real quick for you. Will Zalatoris, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Tiger, is it Woods? Yes. They would tee off at number 10 at 7:29 on Thursday morning. Tony Finau, Ludwig Ahlberg, who's turning into one of the best golfers on the planet. He is, man. Bill McDonald told us to watch for him, and boom, there he is. And DJ, Dustin Johnson, in that same group. And a couple more for you real quick. Just one more I'll give you. Actually, 2. Terrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, Tom Hogue, And then Bryson DeChambeau, Victor Hovland, and Max Homa in a group. So lots more big names. Obviously, U.S. Open, Pinehurst #2 tees off very early on Thursday morning. And it's going to be hot in central North Carolina this week. Good luck. Good luck, kids.
I'll enjoy the air conditioning.
On what is a brutally difficult course, I'm told. I'm told if you go and people say, oh, I want to play Pinehurst #2. I've had so many people say, I've never been, but I've heard people say, do not play #2. Just don't. Just do yourself a favor. Unless you're really, really, really good at golf, do not play #2. It will destroy your life. It is so hard. I'm like, I believe you, and I won't.
So this is the opposite of what the PGA Championship was.
More of your thoughts on Paul Mainieri and his staff as the South Carolina baseball coaches are known and what they're going to make. What comes next? What's your level of support looking like? All that and more. 803-404-6100. This is the postgame show. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock here on this Tuesday afternoon. Just got official confirmation that John Rahm, and I thought that was coming down when I was telling y'all that he was in one of those groupings, but John Rahm, who has won this event, has sadly, he's got a foot injury, and he is withdrawing, so he will not be participating. He's not had a good year, man. The Live Tour didn't treat him well. I guess the foot injury, that you can't help where you're playing, but he's the only guy on the Live Tour that I even, remotely care about at all.
He has not been good in the two other majors this year.
No, and I'm a fan of John Rahm, but anyway, unfortunately, we will not see John Rahm in action this weekend up at Pinehurst. Let's get to the phones, talking Paul Mainieri. Again, if you've just tuned in, Paul Mainieri, longtime LSU coach, national champion, national coach of the year, 5-year, $1.3 million per deal to become the new head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Monty Lee will stay on staff as associate head coach and hitting coach. He's got a 3-year deal at $550,000 per season, so Monty gets a big raise to remain on staff here. Terry Rooney will come from LSU as recruiting coordinator, and he'll be the pitching coach, 3 years, a little over $400,000. And John Hendry comes from the University of Virginia's staff, where he is the director of player development. Virginia is on their way to another College World Series under Brian O'Connor, so a good get for Paul Mainieri off a championship caliber staff. That's what you're looking at for Gamecock baseball. Now, some news first about Ethan Petrie weighing in.
Yes, he has weighed in on his Twitter feed. He says, he quote tweets the Gamecock baseball tweet and says, "Let's go Gamecocks, #home." So I think he approves.
That's I had heard whispers that he wanted to stay. I had also been told that it was weird. Pretty sure he's going to Florida. And another one. I'm telling you, he's going to Georgia.
We've heard a hodgepodge of things.
And then another equally confident. No, he's staying. He's staying. It was last week was so weird. And I'll admit, I texted David Cloninger a little earlier, and I said, I'm just glad this thing's over.
A lot of us are glad.
It's hard. I know you think like it's not, but when you're trying to chase down as many things as we do, I'm not here. I don't feel sorry. This is my job. But when it's something that's so passionately followed in this town, and you're just, because we're not, listen, at 107.5 The Game, we're not here for scoop. We're not here to break news and do that kind of thing.
This isn't all the president's men.
It's
trying to do that.
Well, it's like the funny thing on Dan Patrick where they say, we're not here to break news. We sprain it. That's us. We trust in all these beat writers that we, guys like David and John Whittle, when Ben Portnoy was on the beat, what Jack Veltry's doing, and there are others, Alan last week, Alan Cole does a good job. I mean, we trust those folks, and they're regulars of what we do. And I know Chris and Wes chase a lot of the recruiting stuff, and that's their job. But last week it's like, man, what do I believe? Who do I believe everybody. Mm-hmm. And I only try to talk with people that I know are in tune. But it's just hard sometimes because something that could be true one day is not true the next. And I got it on pretty good authority that there's a couple of instances of that last week. So
it multiple incidences from Monday to Friday. We heard completely different things from reliable sources. Yeah, because we'll exchange notes, and we'll hear some really reliable stuff, and then that can change within a day. as is the life of, an SEC coaching search.
Right.
That's exactly how these go.
And then again, where'd Paul Mainieri come from? Like I said, I joked earlier in the show. I don't know that a week ago, that if he was given one, that Paul Mainieri had Paul Mainieri on his Gamecock coaching search bingo card.
This kind of feels like the John Calipari Arkansas thing, where it's like, hey, John, who do you think we should hire? And then after talking for a little bit, John, I think we should hire you.
Yeah, me.
Buddy.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think you're a good guy.
Let's get to David on the phone lines this afternoon. Hey, David, how you doing, bud?
Hey, guys. So what you're saying is just trust you guys for all of the news, because I can totally do that.
I'm not saying that.
The best I can do for you.
No, I think this is a great hire, and it's really good to see the athletic department actually putting money into the coaches. And I mean, with the resume, how can you not pay him that kind of money? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. I was on hold for 30 minutes, and you guys pretty much took all the talking points I was going to kind of mention, which that's your job, so I'm not mad. But no, I think this is great for the baseball team, and I'm really glad to hear that Petrie's going to stay. So, because if he would have left, I'm pretty sure it would have been full-on nuclear meltdown in Columbia, South Carolina.
Well, yeah, and it's hard. And thanks, David. I appreciate your patience too on a busy day, and we try not to steal too much thunder. But no, I would believe that. And I know you had a poll question today that maybe has even been altered now that some of this is official. So we'll come back around to that in just a second. Listen, it's a baseball team. You can't put too much in any one guy, right? But Ethan Petrie is a special player. And were you to lose him, even if you were to bring in a great coach, were you to lose your best returning player, because Cole Messina's off, then it's just tough to. You can replace him. Don't get me wrong. And the next guy comes around, right? But here's a guy, Ethan Petrie, who has now moved into, I think, the top 5, Elijah, all time in Gamecock home runs. You'd like to see him finish his career out here in Columbia, because he's only going to play one more year, and have a shot. Have a legitimate shot at becoming, an all-timer at Carolina. And what could he do for him next season? But there's a guy to build around, not only from a literal baseball lineup standpoint, but a focal point talent that others can look at and go, yeah, I want to play around that guy. And for Paul Mainieri and Monty Lee and Terry Rooney, all these guys to go out and get some talent. Hey, listen, we can put you around him, and you're all going to see pitches. They can't pitch around everybody. Things like that.
And you saw some guys getting pitched around, especially Cole Messina in that regional. And
I thought it was unfortunate, and I know one of the kids they'd like to see come to Columbia, and there's no guarantees, but P.J. Moorlander down at Somerville, I saw the video last week of him being pitched around and just laughing. But what are you going to do? And that's high school ball.
Yeah.
I grant you, that's high school ball. But they just walk him. And I know we saw that at the highest level with Bonds for a bit. Just walk him. But you can't do that all the time. And if you've got enough guys that the opposing team has to account for, eventually somebody sees a good pitch. Look at Georgia's lineup this year. Wasn't just Charlie Condon.
There's a reason that he was able to get pitched 37 times to hit 37 homers.
By the way, Charlie Condon put up a major league season's worth of home runs in 60-something baseball games.
And still got walked intentionally in a lot of instances towards the end of the season.
Well, that's what they said about a guy like Bonds. And what if you kept pitching to Bonds every time?
Video game. It's video game numbers.
But Ethan Petrie is going to be making his way back in. Real quick, let's get to Wayne. Hey, Wayne, how are you, bud?
Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Good, man.
Question. Will Cole Messina, will he still be staying at Carolina?
No, Cole's eligible for the draft, and I think guys like Teddy Cahill and some of the others that follow it had said he rocketed up the major league boards. I would be.
MLB.com has him in the top 200 in terms of draft prospects.
That's a place. So you're looking at top 4 rounds plus the compensatory round. So top 5 rounds, I guess. There's depending on what the money looks like. I suppose there's a chance. And it's not just about the NIL situation. Do you want to go play pro ball now or not? I think that's really what it would come down to.
How much more can he raise his stock? Is the other thing too. Because if you can get yourself in the first round, then
you might. So I think
big boy money.
I think there's a chance that he stays. But if you were asking me to handicap it, I'd say it's less than 50%. But that's just me looking at it on the surface right now. Let's see what his talks are like with others. Let's see where he gets picked. There's nothing. I mean, a good hitting catcher might go a long way. More coming up.